parking, you got the big old, capacity now.
Are we?
4 days, 12, 13, 15, 20, we're at 25.
Let the mayor know we're at 25.
We will be once Councilman Talent, Councilman Donovan, and Corporal Tucker arrive. We'll be at 25. We're technically at 25. Yeah.
No, it's 26 when this one comes in.
That'll be it. 15,
I think that's all.
20. 5 of them. 25. That's 26.
So if Mr. Earl texts me, don't call.
He's allowed it. He's got a CRE. How are you, sir? Man, you're sure about that, ain't you? I got it. Happened one Sunday. I don't know. I need to see some young girl with when I called me. Oh, God.
Thank you. Thank you. That's it, right?
That would put us over. Technically, I'm going to leave Corporal Tucker in the other room so she doesn't come in. So,
I'll step into the other room since you're here.
no, you're fine, sir. If you want to just give us a physical head count. $27? Somebody else sneak in? Okay. I didn't know if somebody snuck in a window or something. So we're at capacity.
you get that remote and turn that heat off to your left?
The white remote.
I think it's orange button. Yeah, there you go. You point it at your
Sorry, sir.
That's, never mind.
What's your suggestion when we're at capacity?
You have to ask the mayor, it's his decision.
Do you want, yeah, do you wanna go?
It's all right, I'll live stream.
Okay.
Thank you, that's fine. I'll live
Yeah,
stream.
you need to, that's fine.
Why don't we lock that door?
I think she can, because you
The
can
fire marshal said you're not supposed to lock the door.
We're not?
I mean, they can stand up there and then if
Yeah,
they wanna talk.
if we can have them, if we go beyond capacity, we can have them wait in the foyer over there. And if they need to make public comment, then we'll have to just exchange people in and out.
Okay. Okay.
If someone else comes in, I'll go to the rooms and be here most of the listen also.
Excellent, thank you, sir.
Okay, exactly. Thank you.
I'll go to.
And I can leave too once I'm done.
Well, hopefully, once we start the meeting, there won't be any more people coming in. Hopefully. It's 6:30, but we've just lost them.
Is this time? Is this time coming?
They're ready for you.
Oh, you're staying out? Oh, okay.
Is Brenda coming?
You wanna watch it online?
Anybody?
I don't believe we're going to get.
So we got room for one.
Yes. So.
Jess wanted to come in about the events. On her end?
Yeah,
Go ahead and start.
It is now 6:30 on April 9th. We're going to call to order of this meeting. Let's say for the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Is
Also, if I can have everybody please sign for cell
Jessica
phones.
be the only person out there?
Obviously, no speaking during public comment, during press council speaking. The first thing,
So I got Jess from you, we got 2 seats, but
yeah, that's
she's
fine.
on the public on the event.
Yeah, because you have-
Mr. Weller, can you tell Jessica she can come in? We have one more spot, please.
Jessica, you are now. That's the other kid with it. All right, I'll step out before I go. You come in to here. Okay, you can bring your son. You can come in with your son. Okay.
Okay. Seating is good when you're not out of capacity, so, the first thing before, we lead into anything for the public comment, I would like to make a motion to amend, the actual agenda. I would like to remove, line 5 from the mayor's updates, B and C. There really are no updates with either one of those, so that would be my motion as of now.
But that's why I'm trying to go no further after.
There's no further information, there's no further update. It says mayor's updates. I don't have any further mayor updates. The meeting with the town of Bridgeville, like I said in the beginning when I started with this position, is for me to find out the facts, that's all it was. And we already went over everything, with the meeting of the residents, with the proposed project, last council session. So I really have no updates at all with either one of those.
Excuse me, the meeting that you had with residents, I was not there. I was not included in that. AJ was not included in that.
It was
So
not-
we need to know what's going on. We're council representatives still.
So, the word meeting in all of this is, I think, the confusing part. There wasn't any meeting. We discussed this with the last council session. I was invited to go over by a neighbor of mine to speak.
Mr. Mayor, might I suggest then that it'd be appropriate to leave that item on there and you can explain it at that time.
Okay, then we
Sounds like there's question from some council members, so.
So, okay, so we
I
can.
just-
we
I
can-
would just like to have a clarification on it as to avoid any issues down the road. Mr. Sharp, you understand how that goes?
Yes.
To save us any issues down the road.
For both B and C?
I would like that, yes, but it's your discretion. I would personally like
Yes.
to ask.
Well, it has to be
Yes.
voted on. It has to be voted on, so if nobody wants to, no.
So your motion is to remove A and B, just so I know.
B and C.
B and C, okay. And was there a second?
There is a second. You have your vote?
No?
I vote yes.
I would, yes.
No.
Okay, so we will continue on with that. Second is the public comment section. First person we have?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Does anyone have any correspondence? We're just got reading those correspondence, or is that after?
That's after.
We're doing, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, this-
That's what-
I saw the wrong public comment.
Yeah.
No, forgive me, my eyes got me, I was too far.
Jump
into
too
it.
far ahead.
Sorry about that, I
Okay,
apologize.
okay.
It appears public comments in two places.
Yeah.
So, I know there is a public hearing on the Browse matter, and that does involve public comments separate from our normal 15-minute public comment period. So, yeah, that would be something, this council looks at this agenda, do you want to amend it to have, that public comment for the general 15-minute before the public hearing, or would you like to have it later in the agenda?
I think we just run it
We
out.
should, I believe that we should just run how it, we should run how it's set up now.
So we have two.
So we all have two public comments, well, the first public comment not pertaining to the public hearing.
Well, the public hearing has a public comment period as part of it. So
Correct.
it doesn't need to be on there 2 times.
So you just wanna remove that completely, okay.
Yeah, that's part of the public hearing, is
Okay.
that in itself has a public comment period. If council wants to hear the Browse matter first, my suggestion would be you do Browse matter, and if you wanna clarify and say public comment for the Browse matter after that, you can do that, and then your general and later.
Okay.
If somebody wants to make that a motion to do that.
I move. I second.
Sorry, yeah.
Ms. vote, Ms. Jones, have you voted?
No.
No.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mr. Massey?
Yes.
I vote yes as well.
Alright, so just for clarity, we'll be holding the public hearing for the Browse matter next. There'll be public comment as part of that public hearing after that. And then later, where we have item number 4 after reading of correspondence, that's the time for our general public comment on topics to council.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
So now we're moving to, number 3, the public hearing. This is an application from Frank and Yvonne Browse for the conditional use to allow 2 principal buildings on 1 lot by converting the existing garage to a 2-bedroom apartment located on 100 South Church Street, Greenwood, Delaware. The tax ID is 530-9.16-72.00.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, there's a statement that should be read before the public
Yes,
comment
I-
hearing.
yeah.
I can go through that.
If you would, please, yes.
This is the time and place for public hearings before the town council of the town of Greenwood. All persons in attendance should conduct themselves in an orderly fashion, take directions from the mayor. Unruly orders, orderly conduct will not be tolerated, and may result in expulsion from the room. The town of Greenwood in its zoning and land use decisions does not discriminate against persons based on race, color, religion, national origin, handicap, disability, familial status, sex, creed, marital status, age, sexual orientation, gender identity, or source of income. Public comments made on the basis of bias and stereotype concerning people within these protected classes will not be taken into consideration by the town in its deliberations. The process of the hearing will be as follows. The town manager will provide the town council with a brief synopsis of the application. The applicant will be asked to come forward and present the case. The applicant will then present the case and any exhibits or testimony in support of the application. The council may ask questions of the applicant and any of the witnesses. After that process has been completed, the mayor will then open the floor to comments and questions from members of the public. If any member of the public wishes to be heard concerning this application, you're required to make that statement from the podium. Before making a statement, please state your name and give your home address. The applicant will then have an opportunity to present rebuttal evidence. At any time, the council and the town solicitor may ask questions of any witness. When speaking, we ask that you be concise with your statements and avoid being repetitious. The mayor has authority to set reasonable time limits on testimony from witnesses, and he has the authority to terminate testimony from anyone that is irrelevant or unduly repetitive. Once all testimony has been presented, the public hearing is closed, and the case will be voted upon or tabled for consideration at a future meeting. For those here this evening, if you have your cell phone, we ask that you turn to silent service for the duration of the meeting.
Thank you. So,
I'm gonna defer this to Carolyn because I was not at the first meeting Mr. Browse was at and she was, so I'm gonna defer. She'll go over it with you.
okay.
Mr. Browse owns a property right behind us here, 100 South Church Street. There's a home there with a large garage in the back that he would like to convert to an apartment. That requires a conditional use to have two principal buildings on one lot. So that's why it's here for you all for conditional use.
And if I could offer a little background as well from a legal standpoint, this is a zoned R1 district. The current property has a dwelling and a garage on the property. It's my understanding the applicants, and we can hear from him to clarify, wants to convert the garage into another residence. In our zoning code, there is a catch-all provision that if you have multiple permitted uses on a property, you can seek a conditional use. A conditional use does not necessarily have to be granted, but one can seek it. And as I know we have a couple new council persons on here and two that have been on here for some time. The criteria, and I'll just state what section 7 of the code regarding conditional uses. It says generally conditional uses may be desirable in certain locations for the general convenience and welfare. Owners must use the property in a manner that assures neither an adverse impact upon adjoining properties nor the creation of a public nuisance. In short, because of the nature of the use, it requires sound planning in its location and site arrangement. There's several criteria that the council is to look at, and that's in 7.3. Presence of adjoining similar and compatible uses, adjoining district in which the use is permitted. There is a need for the use in the area proposed as established in the comprehensive plan. There is sufficient area to screen the conditional use from adjacent different uses. Use will not significantly detract from permitted uses in the district, whether sufficient safeguards such as traffic control, parking, screening, setback, and architectural standards can be implemented to remove potential adverse influences on adjoining uses and due consideration of the objection, if any, of adjoining landowners. So that's something that you should think about as you're hearing the application and any of the comments this evening.
So what was your proposal? We hear from you.
Well, yeah, as Carolyn said, you know, we could.
Can you state your name and address,
Oh,
for the record, please?
Frank Browse,
Thank you.
100 South Church Street. As Caroline said, we have this about 900 square foot 3-car garage in the back of the property. It's a rather large structure for the property itself, but we would like to develop that into a 2-bedroom apartment. I sent you, or give you the detailed plans of what we want to do there with the actual garage itself, and then also I give you a plan with shows the overall property layout. So the structure's already there. We're not adding anything to it. We're not changing any footprint. We're not doing anything other than interior work to try to help with, one of the things I've learned in this town, there's always a lot of people that are looking for good housing. There just seems to be, just in my short time being down here, seems to be a real lack of that. And I think it could add to the neighborhood and for, to help provide additional living space for everything. That's our intent.
Okay. How close is the shed to the property line?
Closes it to the. I'm not exactly sure.
Because I know there's different ordinances between determining from the shed, right there.
But I know that I think they said that the one setback, the one corner, is pretty close to the setback of the property line. What would that be? The southwest west corner of it. But it was approved at one point to build it there, so I'm not, like I said, I'm not changing any part of the foundation or the walls to make it any closer.
You're just amending the apartment, the garage itself to.
The interior.
living space.
Yeah, exactly. So the setback, however close it is to the, so like I said, somebody from the town approved that at one point prior to, I'm not sure how long ago, but whenever it was.
The only reason I'm asking is something to look into more is I know that there's different ordinances from, the definition of a shed to the definition of a living space to the edge of the property line. So that's something that we may need to look at to figure out, if you need to submit something to change that,
If I may, Mr. Mayor. So the code requires that dwellings be 25 feet from a rear yard. I don't have the plan in front of me showing the meets and bounds.
Yeah.
But an accessory structure such as a garage can be 5 feet from a rear yard. So if you're gonna be converting it, if you're gonna be converting it to a living space, effectively a dwelling, it would have to comply with that rear yard setback requirement. If it cannot, then a variance would have to be obtained in order to meet the code.
something that we would all look at there.
And I'm looking at the plan here, I don't see, I don't know if it's got a scale here that shows how.
That is
close
the scale, but that paper that's printed on isn't, it's smaller, so. I
Okay.
think if I recall, it's somewhere somewhere between 10 and 15 feet.
Looking at the scale, it would appear that it may not be perfectly parallel with the rear
No,
property
it's not.
line, but at its closest point, your scale says 1/8 of an inch equals 1 foot. So we'd have to have a ruler, but we could figure out
Yeah.
approximately how close that is.
Well, like I said, that's shrunk down from a 24 by 36 inch plan, so you wouldn't be able to scale it off the back, particularly tall.
I think it's 15 feet.
15.
I think it's 15.
15,
In
yeah,
the
that
back.
sounds about right.
So that's a variance that you would need to look at as well.
Okay.
As well as, I feel that one of the other ordinances that they need to have their own separate water, they need to have their own separate electric, completely separate from your dwelling itself. That way it's
Yeah.
its own entity and not together with yours. The other thing, there's a lot of things, the parking also needs to be, to look at as well, where they can park, the street parking.
He's got a 2-car proposal for parking right there.
Correct. Yes, so that's for the house and for the apartment there, right, two proposed, okay?
Yeah, because then he's got.
Yeah, it's a house.
Parking here, and he's
Right.
got parking out front here.
It shows it better on one of these, bigger.
So you look at the small one.
He's got parking, so he would be fine on parking, it's just, it's gonna be the setback.
The other item to consider, and it looks on its face like it probably is okay, but I don't see a measurement, is a lot coverage requirement. There is a limit there as well. I believe it's 40%. So without having this scale, I wouldn't know for sure. It would, kind of looks like it might be, but I don't know that until we would have it measured.
The whole lot is right about 5 or a half acre total. So I don't know if that would comply with that calculation.
So it looks like there's a lot of things we need to look at. I think with the conditional use, as long as the parameters fall in line with the conditional use, I don't see any major issue with it, as long as you follow through with all of the variances that you may need to go with.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I think we should probably wait to make any judgment call until we hear from the public.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, there's a lot of things that we need to think about, and also we need to hear from the public, like the solicitor said, so. Right now, we'll move to the public comment session. specifically.
Mr. Mayor, I don't know if any of the council members have a question or comment for the applicant. I know I have a couple.
Okay. You can ask me these questions.
I was on the planning commission when this came through, and as far as like the inside living space, he would meet the requirements that we have. My only concern is the offset from the property line where, again, like Mr. Sharp said, and like we just discussed, there's different setbacks for different buildings. Is that gonna cause an issue? So like, have you notified the neighbors of your intentions? And like, that could cause an issue, especially if they're putting a house close to somebody else's house.
The town mailed out letters to everybody within a certain distance of it.
So we're good on that?
Yeah, so they all were aware of tonight's meeting.
And maybe they're here tonight.
Maybe.
We'll see if anybody.
I wouldn't have any problem talking to any of my neighbors there. I'm pretty friendly with all this.
Mr. Sharp?
No, I don't have anything. Do you have anything?
Should he go to the Board of Adjustment prior to?
Well, what we will sometimes see with these kind of applications, is that any approval would be conditioned on a variance being granted, and that would come from the Board of Adjustment. That may be, we gotta see if what we hear tonight and what council decides, but that would be, you couldn't just approve it as is and he'd be final, he would still have to go through another process to meet those standards.
Ms. Jones?
No, Mr. Jones, you have anything to say? Questions, comments? Mr. Sharp?
Thank you. Just so that we have it in the record, because we really don't have a lot about it. What else is around this area? Is it residential, or do we have other uses in the area?
No, it's all residential.
Is there a ditch near the property?
Yes.
Does that ditch flood?
It did during, when was that, 2 summers ago, June, 2 summers ago, yeah.
Where is that ditch located?
It goes along the, would that be the westerly property line and then,
South side.
the south, yes, and then it goes under this street up here.
Okay, so it'd be the rear and then the side.
Yeah. Part of the rear.
That's the side or where the big lawn section is?
What's that?
Right there, like the rear and then this side here?
Yeah, it starts like, maybe here, wait, let me come around here. It comes in right around here,
Okay.
and then, yeah, pretty much follows the property line.
And rolls right down.
Right down.
Alright.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you're gonna have separate utilities for this?
Yes.
Okay, so it has separate water, sewer, electric.
Yeah. Currently, it has its own electric meter there.
Are you gonna have any screening on the property, like a fence or a line of trees?
I could do that, yeah, I didn't have to show anything like that in the plan, other than a little group planning between the 2 residences on the property, but,
I ask that just
Yeah.
because one of the criteria is whether there's a sufficient area to screen the conditional use from other uses. So,
yeah, there would be, and I wouldn't have a problem with doing that, and even, like I said, if I have a discussion with my neighbors that are adjacent, I'd ask them what they would prefer too, unless there was some specific, town guidelines.
And just confirm for the record, how large is the apartment, the habitable living area gonna be in that apartment?
I came up with, 806 feet.
All right, I have no further questions, Mr. Mayor, at this time.
Thank you. Since everybody's spoken, we're gonna move to the public comments directed to this public hearing itself. Do you have anybody here that would like to speak?
Just on behalf of,
State your name, state your company, state your name.
you want me to stand up?
Yeah.
Hey, you need to go to the podium.
Podium, state your name.
Just on behalf, Jamie Webb, 42 West Market, on behalf of Frank, as a neighbor, he purchased a couple properties next to ours that he remodeled, and made rental properties, and I'll vouch for him, that he did a really good job. I personally know the tenants that live in one of his rentals, and we're very pleased with him as a landlord. Landscaping is beautiful, the people on the property is nice, people take care of his stuff. And it's all very well maintained. We're happy to have him in Greenwood.
State your name and address for the code.
Name's James Grant, 2014, North Hampton Highway. I had one question. Does the town of Greenwood have anything in reference to accessory dwelling units? Because the county just came up with a new ordinance with accessory dwelling units that kind of for affordable, nice housing. Like what it sounds like he's talking about, where you can have an accessory dwelling unit on the property up to 1,000 square feet. So it gives more places for people that get a nice place that's affordable. So I don't know if Greenwood has approached the accessory dwelling unit yet.
No, I don't believe that we do. The county did enact it. They previously had a process for garage/studio apartments. They're very limited in size, and there was a public hearing process for that. They've passed a accessory dwelling unit ordinance, I believe last year, that limits where these structures can be and put some provisions in place. We don't have something like that for the
Right,
town.
and the thing is one thing about the accessory dwelling unit is because they were like, their hands were tied because you could only have one parcel on the property that could have an oven in it. And a lot of people were having apartments with ovens in it that was kind of illegal in a sense because they had an oven in it to make it accept. And then the setbacks are, so you're not having two principals. Like, cause I heard somebody talking about principal setbacks and stuff like that, where the accessory dwelling unit would have less of a setback. So I'm just trying to, make it more feasible for the gentleman. For a thought. So thank you.
Are you an attorney? Maybe.
Anyone else related to the public hearing comment section? From here, I think we should decide, I think this is something that, I would make the motion to table this so we can look more into exactly what we're looking at.
Mr. Rouse, how long have you been working on this? Like, cause I saw you, I think it was November I saw you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I was on planning, Ms.
Right.
Webb, I believe you were there. And to keep tabling this and pushing him back.
Was it keep here? This is the first time.
No, in front of you and I, but this has been pushed back and pushed back and pushed back.
From the public, from planning.
I think the
It's
hearing
been
was,
kicked around a lot.
the hearing was in December, and I believe the commission wanted him to provide some drawings, and it took a while for that to come in.
Okay.
So that was part of the delay.
So then I was supposed to be on the last meeting and nobody put me on too, so that delayed.
There had to be an amount of time that information came in so that proper notices could be sent to the neighbors.
So this is news to me, this is already, has been in front of the council before.
It has been in front of the planning commission. The planning commission makes recommendations to council on conditional uses. And then council has the final call as to whether or not to approve or deny those uses.
But, so has this, so this whole plan has already been through?
It's gone to the planning commission, as Ms. Chisholm stated earlier.
Correct.
And they recommended approval. They did require that there be a site plan submitted prior to this meeting so that the council would have a chance to look at that.
Correct.
That's in your packet. I believe that's in your packet.
They've had that site plan for several months.
So,
All that information.
Then I'll reject my first motion, I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use.
Mr. Sharp, do you have any, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I would make the motion to approve this conditional use under the fact that he has to have the variance done, he has to have the separate utilities to the house itself, And obviously, you already have the parking already set in place, but as long as it is complete separate utilities from your, individual unit there, I don't see an issue with
I
that.
have a question. Yes, Jamie, Janet, is his application still good from when he started?
Again, I wasn't here when he started back in November, but the code says, Mr. Sharp, I would refer to you, is it 60 or 90 days?
I believe, I'd have to look at it.
So he would have to put in a new application if it's 60 or 90 days. 'cause
Well,
it's been since November.
There was a requirement that there be some documentation provided. And it was December, I believe, was when the hearing was. I know we said November, I'm pretty sure it was December. And there was some documentation he's provided about the actual, I believe it's this one here, the conversion itself, which is dated after that hearing. So it was to be provided. So that was part of the reasons for that. So that, it was still pending application, council can hear that. I would recommend that if council is inclined to approve it, I have, as I do with all of these zoning hearings, I've prepared motions for and against that I can review with council if you wish to consider any of that as part of the motion.
Do you have any other suggestions as far as like things you would recommend
Well,
upon approval?
yeah, I mean,
And I also have another question. We've had, previously other residents in the town who had like similar situations, and that precedent is gonna come up again. You know what I mean? Like, they're gonna wanna do the same thing. We're gonna have to address it. So at some point, we approve this, they're gonna, if they wanna reapply, they can reapply, go through, we're gonna have to put some kind of structure in for all of this. Do you see where I'm at? Because we can't just tell these guys, well, you couldn't do it, and then like a year later, nothing.
The other previous ones have been denied, though, from previous council, correct?
Kind of. Like, one of them was, they told them, no, you can't do it, and they pulled the meter and everything. But the problem is now they're gonna, if they go to reapply, they're gonna put the meter back in, they're gonna need to cost that and everything else. So at that point, like, they were denied before, and then 2 years later, well, we got this guy, we let him in. So like, we're gonna run into some issues after this. So I wanna put it on record, we are going to run into some issues. People are gonna have some opinions about it, so we might as well go ahead and start being prepared to address these things now.
That's understandable, but if we, and I'm agreeing with you, if we approve this conditional use and other people have been denied previously, then I can see how they can come back and.
Yes, they can come back and
Come
reapply.
back and reapply.
Well, we should look at this as an opportunity to restructure how we handle these things, because right now we're setting a new precedent. Mrs. Webb testified that he's a good neighbor, he's a good landlord, she's never had an issue with him. Gentleman back here spoke on his behalf, trying to get a few things straight. We're going to have to look at setting a precedent.
This obviously seems to be a different situation than the previous.
Yes.
The previous council
Yes.
board that has elected, so then we follow the statute that we are establishing now.
Correct.
For any continuous, applications for this particular conditional usage.
And then we look into setting some guidelines moving forward.
Correct.
Yep.
yeah, I think if you're, I mean, you did have somebody here testify with Mr. Grant about the fact the county has an accessory dwelling unit ordinance. That's something that if council wanted to kick the tires on something like that or tweaking the zoning code, you could certainly look at that.
I think that would be
That's
worthwhile.
something for us to look into.
To go back to one of your questions, Mr. Massey, you had asked about possible, I think, conditions that might be appropriate.
Yeah, if you had any suggestions.
Yeah, I do. When I was looking at this, because there is a section in the code that talks about if you were to take an individual dwelling and convert it to 2 units in an R1, there's some provisions there that you could probably, might be worth incorporating here. If you'd like, I can kind of go over some of those and see what you think.
Sure.
So one would be the converted garage must meet all town of Greenwood housing, building, and construction standards. That way, because you're converting with a garage into living space, and we do have standards as to what living space can be. And 2 parking spaces for the occupants shall be, for the occupants of the converted garage must be provided on the property and shown on the final site plan. He's noted that on the drawing that we have here, but at final, we would want that. The converted garage shall contain no more than 2 bedrooms as shown on the plans with the application. I know, and that would be certainly up to you, that's something that just came to mind, with the number of bedrooms on the property. The converted garage must be serviced by separate electric, water, and sewer, and evidence of such separate utility connections must be provided to the town manager, so there's some evidence of that in the record. The habitable floor area of the converted garage must consist of no less than 800 square feet. His testimony was today, it was gonna be, I think, 806. And, the last one would be the converted garage must comply with all setback and maximum lot coverage requirements. If the garage does not meet those requirements, the applicant must obtain a variance, and the Board of Adjustment approval is not guaranteed, because that's something that body would have to weigh at a hearing before them. Those are just some suggestions that I had earlier today looking at it.
I do believe that covers all the bases that need to be covered.
So, would you like to make a motion?
If you're inclined to make a motion for approval, I have some additional things that we perhaps put in that motion, Mr. Matt.
Oh, yeah,
Okay. I'll read then what I've got, and if you like it, you can adopt it.
Yeah, sounds good.
I move that we approve the conditional use application for Frank and Yvonne Browse to allow 2 principal buildings on 1 lot by converting the existing garage to a 2-bedroom apartment based on the record made at the public hearing and the recommendation from the planning commission, and for the following reasons. The applicant seeks to convert the garage in the rear of the property to a 2-bedroom residential unit. The single-family dwelling located towards the front of the property will remain. There are other residential properties in the area. There is a need for housing as referenced in the town's comprehensive plan. There is sufficient area to screen those two uses from other uses. The use will not significantly detract from permitted uses in the district. No persons appeared in opposition to the application, and the approval is subject to the conditions I referenced earlier this evening.
I would second that motion.
I'll make, yeah,
Is that your
motion
motion?
to adopt that, yes.
And is there a second?
I would second that. Ms. Jones, how would you vote?
I'm not sure. I'm not gonna vote. No vote.
No vote.
That's enough. I'm just not voting.
Not voting at all. Okay. Mr. Donovan?
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Matthews is yes, and I vote yes as well.
I just have a question, if we decide to move forward with the variance for the town, part of what you said, we have to have separate utilities, which I noted on there that I drew the sewer, the electric is existing. Okay, so I drew the sewer line. There is a sewer lateral that already comes into that, towards that part of the property, as if it was going to be converted at one time.
So the record is closed, the council has already voted on that.
Oh, could I just have a question now? So when you want me to come back with a variance, do I have to have that part from the county engineered at that point for the sewer and the water?
That is a separate condition from the variance condition.
No.
So you would need to provide evidence to the town manager that you've got those connections.
Okay.
But you're also gonna have to have a variance from the Board of Adjustment, you have to go through that hearing process there, because the structures, unless it meets it, if your site plan shows that it meets it, then that's different, but if it does not, then you'll have to go to the Board of Adjustment for a variance. And I suspect in looking at it, it probably needs.
Okay. All right. Yep, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so now, we will start with the regular council meeting. Following the public hearing. First, we're gonna start, obviously calling to order for the regular council meeting, we'll have some public hearing. We're gonna do the approval of minutes.
Mr. Mayor, is there any reason that Mr. Sharp needs to stay? Not that I don't appreciate his help, but legal reasons and legal bills, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I believe the only other issue, Mr. Massey, was, probably item 10.2.
tend to council members' comments?
No, there's discussion of voting first.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then the next
you think that's in the video from the meeting, so, and that's the.
Correct.
Last one, so, and that's the discussion of the charter change act, I mean, that's something that I feel we should.
So after public comment, would the mayor be opposed to
Getting all that.
moving that up to save, Mr. Sharp, to save on some bills?
Understood, and I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with that as well, but I think that's something he needs to be here for, so we'll move the, discussion, 10 to.
Yeah.
After, we'll do the, approval of minutes, I think we, I think that's on first.
Make an official motion for that.
Who's on
My
the
motion is to move the 10, line 10 to 2, number 2, up to right after line 4 for the public comment.
Second.
Ms. D, Ms. Jones, have you voted yes? Mr. Donovan, have you voted?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So the approval of the minutes. So we're moving to now, December 3rd, any special meeting and public hearing? Does anybody object, any change in the minutes?
I was not here.
You-
Move to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
And you vote down, you were not there, Jones votes yes, Mr. Massey?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. March 12th, 2025, town council meeting, approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Mr. Donovan moves, second is Mr. Massey, Ms. Jones, have you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Mr. Massey?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. March 19th, 2025, special meeting, public hearing. Do we have a motion?
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Donovan,
Yes.
first motion, Mr. Massey second. Ms.
Yes.
Jones? Yes. Mr. Massey?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Reading of correspondence.
Yes, I have some. Over the last couple of months, there have been 3 council members making calls to some of the professionals hired by the town, such as the auditors, town solicitor, the engineers, state agencies, and about the police department. Also, it has been said that some are telling state representatives not to give grant money to the town. First of all, if that is true, the council members should resign if they are attempting to deny the town grant money based on their personal feelings. It is our job to do what is best for the residents and put this in these seats. Put us in these seats. As council members, it is not our job to run the day-to-day operations of the town. That job is for our town manager and the chief of police. If there is a reason a council member feels the need to call any one of these agencies, they should bring it to the entire council at a meeting, not be making calls and the rest of the council does not know what is going on. When these calls and meetings are made, it puts out the perception that the council does not trust the people we have running the town. If that is the case, I would ask any council member that feels they do not trust the staff to speak up now, because I am tired of hearing all this stuff on the street. That's from me.
Councilman, have anything to say?
I got a question. Did people on the street are telling you this?
I've had a couple of them. Yeah.
That's all I want to know.
I also have something as well. This is actually from Mrs. Talent. Mayor and council, I have lived in and loved the town of Greenwood all of my life. My husband and I have raised our kids here. And even though I have not always agreed with my fellow townspeople, I still respect them. But because of health reasons, I am resigning as a council person. I will continue to be a part of the town, just in a different capacity. Thank you to everyone that voted for me and supported me during my time on council. Thank you, Brandon Talent. So, in lieu of that news, I motion that we postpone the Wednesday ordinance meeting, make that a special council meeting so we can find somebody to replace Mrs. Towns' position.
I will say this, one, that's probably better under council member comments, that's set up. But also, there's a posting issue on that, because you have to post for that at least 7 days in advance.
Well, that's 72 hours for a
No,
special meeting.
7 days.
What about next Thursday?
Have next Thursday.
And we push the other meeting back another week?
Yeah, so if it is 7 days, then I said you still postpone the Wednesday meeting, and we have a special meeting on next Thursday to find somebody to fill the position of Mrs. Town.
Second. I think that's great, it gives us the time to set it.
But there's no need to do the Wednesday meeting without it.
So what date are you looking at?
Thursday, next Thursday.
Okay, because there's a Board of Adjustments meeting Wednesday, so you wanna do this Thursday, and do you want Mr. Sharp there, and if so, you have to see if he's
I
available.
don't think we need Mr. Sharp there for Thursday's meeting to find another council member. I think we postpone next Wednesday's meeting, until we establish somebody else to replace Mrs. Talon's spot.
So at this point, just
Po-
postpone it, okay.
Yeah, we're gonna
Okay.
get rid of Wednesday's meeting, and we're going to establish a new, special meeting on Thursday at 6:30.
So Dee, you'll have to request that in writing as secretary. Thursday, April what?
It's next Thursday.
17.
17th.
At what time?
We'll do 6:30, 6:30.
And that meeting agenda is,
New council,
That's it.
election, yes, that's it.
Mr. Sharp, you have, I saw you look up, you have.
I was just looking at calendars. I think it makes sense to move the ordinance workshop until you have a full council at that point.
Yeah, right.
So,
We'll just post that until further.
and I'll coordinate with Ms. Todd about, availability for me on that.
And we gotta figure out the dates that we're gonna.
Absolutely.
So, the ordinance meeting right now, on Wednesday is gonna be postponed until we further figure out.
what,
We don't need for the council.
No, I don't.
We're talking about Wednesday.
Yeah, I didn't think
What's going on
you needed
Wednesday?
that.
what is the process if someone wants to be on the council?
From what I've looked at, and Mr. Sharp, you can follow me up on this. It's up to any council member to appoint somebody. The person that they appoint has to be in good standing. with the
No,
council.
I mean, I know what their qualifications are, but if someone's interested, do they come to you
They
and?
can come to anyone.
Okay,
If
that
they're
was my
interested,
question.
and then it's up to us
So they don't have to put in
appoint.
writing, just come to you guys?
And then it comes down to a vote on council, who is elected as to fill Mrs. Town's position.
Okay.
And I'll follow up this time on that.
What was that, Mr. Sharp?
I'll follow up with Ms. Todd, yeah, it says here, section 12, any vacancy shall occur in the office of a council member by resignation. The same may be filled by majority vote of the remaining members of town council. The persons so chosen to fill such vacancy shall be qualified as in the case of newly elected members and shall hold office for the remainder of the unexpired term.
So they will hold the office until the end of this term, because that's on this calendar.
We already know that.
Alrighty. Thank you. Getting that. So that was my motion, Mr. Massey, seconded. Ms. Jones? Yes. Yes. Mr. Massey?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan? And I vote yes as well. Okay, we will now move to the public comment. From now, we have anybody to speak. I have 2 people on list for 3 minutes. I need you to come to the podium, state your name, the address that you have. The first we have is Jim Love.
All right.
No,
You guys aren't gonna answer me, right? My minutes are 3 minutes, uninterrupted?
I'll take care of it.
Okay, and if you want to extend it, I would not be
I
offended.
got it, no extension. Just-
Okay, well, they can do it, I haven't done it.
Okay,
anyways.
3 minutes at a time.
So right off the bat, I would like to let you know, I'd love to be on the council.
Name and address.
Oh, sorry, James J. Weller Jr., 10243 Webb Farm Road, Lincoln, Delaware, 19960. First thing, just like throw it out there, I would love to be on the council. I think whether you allow people out of the town or not, I own almost $2 million worth of property in the town. I have 2 daughters that live in town. I'm a reasonable businessman. I'm very good at working as a team, and I have a fair amount of common sense. So whether you allow people out of town or not, I encourage you to maybe look at your charter, think about it. I would love to be on the town council, and I can start immediately. That's my first thing. Next thing is, I know there's a lot of things coming up, and I want to just say that I have been told that the town council and the mayor are not allowed to talk to people like me. So in other words, they can't talk to any normal people or people, you know, without it being a meeting like this. And I think it's not a FOIA violation. And if it is, then you would have to ask, why do you have a council? Because then that means they don't represent the people, they only represent the town. So if that is the case and you're not allowed to talk to me because of FOIA violations, then I think you need to have another council that's allowed to talk to the town. So these are not condemnations, these are suggestions, okay? But I'm just saying at the moment, I'm not allowed to talk to anybody but I think that's wrong is what I'm telling you. I think you're opening yourself up, you mentioned lawsuit a lot. I think you're opening up yourself for a big lawsuit, telling citizens that they can't talk to anybody because of FOIA violations. Now, if there were 3 of you talking to me, that would be a FOIA violation. But I'm not an attorney, but I really think that you might be wrong on what you're thinking there. But again, in the event the town council is not allowed to talk to the citizens of the town, or citizens not in the town, then you need a council that's allowed to talk to people, because people might want things on their behalf, and then the town people that don't talk to the people of the town, they only are voting for the town. So I want you to think about that. Who's working for who here is what I'm asking, okay, as a tax-paying citizen. All right, so the other thing is, I want you to think about putting a moratorium on the town right this minute. If you watch your minutes and you watch your meetings and you watch your interaction and the body language, you guys aren't clicking. Like, nobody might not want to mention it, but you guys don't look like you're flowing well, okay? You're all good people, I know all of you. You're all good people, this is not a condemnation. But as a team, I don't think you're flowing well. You've got a Wawa coming that none of you have any idea what impact that's going to have on the town. None whatsoever. You don't know if there's people that normally go down this road that say, I want to go 2 roads over that way or 2 roads over that way. I think you should put a moratorium until you all get very squared away here and can communicate well, because you're recording these things and you're providing a lot of people with a lot of evidence. Time's up. Son of a gun. Can anybody here extend it? I'd like to make a motion to extend it 5 more minutes. Does anybody here got an issue?
You got 10 more minutes.
10 more minutes.
10 minutes.
I mean, 10
No, I'll
seconds.
take the 10. You don't have to give me 10.
No.
I'll take 10. Okay, anyway, I just want you to know you're recording these things. Okay. Can I just say one thing about your recording? They're going to be deleted after 30 days on Facebook. So you want to start saving them somewhere
Okay.
after 30 days.
Thank you,
I appreciate
Mr. Weller.
y'all. Thank
I
you.
appreciate you.
If you want me to come back, I'm here all night.
Have a fun day.
Yeah.
The next person is Robert Mitchell.
No.
Robert Mitchell, 12277 Youth Road, Greenwood. So I don't live in town, but we do have a property in 104 Governors. It's not $2 million worth, Jim, sorry. It's kind of, but I want to echo a little bit about what Jim said, and that's just sort of a flow of information. And I understand that sometimes you don't have information, but the information that you do have, I think, does need to be a little more readily available when it comes to projects that you're going to be taxing people for, particularly. I've started coming to these meetings because I do have a vested interest here. My daughter lives in town as well. So I just think that we need a little better communication, even if you had someone designated as the person to talk to about to ask certain questions, and maybe that person would then go to the council, ask that, and then get back with them. Because I'm finding out things about the town that I didn't know, the water tower, not that you hit it, but it just, there's not like a really good place to go for that information. The second thing, and I think this is probably gonna be something to discuss, is I don't think that, and Jim and I are friends, but I don't necessarily agree that someone from outside the town should be on the board. But I do think it's something that the town should think about as far as when it comes to voting. Because currently, if I'm not mistaken, you can ask your attorney, I don't believe that as a property owner, I'm allowed to vote if I don't live in town. Is that correct? Yeah.
Vote for council.
Yeah, I own property in Seaford and I am allowed to vote. And I think that when you take a bunch of people, in a way, it seems to me that it's taxation without representation. Because I can have people who don't own any property in here vote to increase the taxes of people who do own property. But if you own that property, I don't have a say at all. That seems a little unfair to me. So it's something to consider for the meeting that is now being postponed. And is that being postponed indefinitely, or do you have a date?
It's gonna be indefinite until we find, until we find somebody else to replace this.
Okay, all right. I don't think that was 3 minutes, but I'm done. Unless Jim wants me to say something else. No, you good? Okay.
Okay, that's the only two that we have on the list. From the suggestion earlier, we're now going to move, section 5, number 2, discussion vote on charter change pertaining to section 29 and 32. I think Mr. Matthews, did you?
Yeah, I was just kind of working on that. This time, you wanna help me out with this one? So,
This is section 29 and section 32. Correct. It's section 29 and section 32, not section 29 line.
So there's two different sections that will address this
Okay, okay,
situation.
okay.
so.
Basically, you want me to tell them how we got to this point? The water tower situation, we can't even start applying for grants or loans or anything because our charter says we can't borrow over $100,000. Obviously, a water tower is way more than $100,000. So at that point, Mr. Massey came, we talked to him, he said we need to make a charter change. He called Representative Vanderwin because legislatures are in session right now and said, is there such a thing as an emergency charter change? And then I'll let Mr. Massey take it from there.
Mr. Vanderwin said we would have to get something done and get it to him as quickly as possible. What it comes down to is the town in the past has borrowed in excess of that $100,000 limit. I don't know how. There have been some readings, stuff like that. Actually, we just paid off those 2 loans when Mr. Moran was still on council. He headed that up. But that's something we need to change because $100,000 doesn't even build a house now. And we're talking a water tower anywhere between 1.1 and $4 million. Those are the numbers that have been tossed around. So I had Mr. Sharp and I believe Ms. Ballard also wrote up a charter change for us to look at and possibly approve for that. And I think the other one was the amount of taxes that we're allowed to collect as a town. There's a cap on that. I think the cap is $500,000 total, wasn't it?
I think so. And this doesn't mean we're gonna go out and borrow $4 million. This just means before we can, correct.
It raises the limit, and also, as per Mr. Sharp's suggestion, that would require a 4-person yes vote in order to even approve that. That way you have 80% of the council voting to approve it. It can't just be 3 people say we're gonna go out and borrow this, and it has to be for infrastructure, it has to be for the municipality. It can't just be, oh, we need $2 million for whatever.
So it'll be limited to the infrastructure itself.
Yes.
So the increase from $100,000 to what were you proposing to put it at?
Mr. Sharp had wrote one up for, I believe it was $250,000, which is still not in the ballpark, and Ms. Ballard wrote one for up to $4. I would suggest we adopt one up to 4, but with Mr. Sharp's suggestions written in as to you must have 4 members of council, it must be for the municipality, it must, like, all the restrictions that Mr. Sharp put in there.
It's in the other one too.
It is in the, okay, so we're working with both. And I feel like that would be, we don't need to go out and borrow that money right now, but if, God forbid, something happens, we could.
Just to clarify,
For the water tower.
Excuse me.
Do we need to know now for the water tower.
If you don't do the charter change, we can't even apply for the USDA loan that offers forgiveness. We can't even start the application.
And specifically, Mr. Sharp, what did you have in your, proposal that's different than the other?
Ms. Ballard.
I've not seen this Ballard,
It's,
so I
it's the
can't.
same, it's the exact same proposal,
Except the money
except
increase?
the money was higher, the
Yeah,
limit
what
was higher.
what was presented to me was that the town was looking at Bridgeville's chart, where they have a limit there where it can go to 4 million, but it's very specific. It can be for only those infrastructure uses, and it has to be, like a federal or state loan at 0% that can be forgiven if certain metrics are met. And it has to be passed by resolution of council after a public hearing. So if this charter change was approved and council wanted to do that, they could hold a public hearing on that rather than have to go through a referendum process, which is currently how it's set up. So it gives, and again, it's for limited types of, it's
So
not
this
just
would
$4
be-
million for $4 million. It's $4 million.
So, but this would be in addition to what we already have.
Correct.
Because it would be a complete different part of the charter, where we are allowed to borrow up to $4 million, only has to deal with infrastructure, and we would still keep the $100,000 that is not
So there's
designated to.
400,000.
It wouldn't even be the money, it would
$100,000,
just
$4 million. You would know, because is the $100,000 designated specifically to infrastructure?
be, well, that's the thing, we would be changing the charter to designate it, the $100,000 is for like.
So then it would be two separate things. If we would have, in the charter, we would have the $100,000, and then we would have another point in the charter to say we're allowed to borrow
If I may,
$4
Mr.
million.
Mayor, so the charter right now says $100,000.
For everything.
In 1 year, $100,000.
Correct, okay.
It's a very low number. I don't know what a police vehicle goes for nowadays, but I would imagine it's probably up there, if not above it. So that's a low threshold. So that was one thing that came up, as well as, and the idea was raising that number. Now, whether that raises to 250 or 400 or some other number, that would just allow town council to do that and take out a loan for that amount. The other part of it was this water tower issue, which is similar in that it deals with borrowing, but it's a more nuanced area. Basically, if council wanted to take a loan out for building a new town hall, for example, and needed $1 million for it, but didn't get a federal loan for it, they're gonna have to go through a referendum because it's gonna exceed your borrowing limit. But if you were looking at doing a water tower and you're able to get federal or state loans that were at 0% interest and could be forgiven, then this would allow council to be able to do that at that higher threshold Mr. Massey referenced, so that you could then you could go through with that and perhaps it react more quickly than you would having to go through the referendum process, which would take more time.
Okay.
So, but it's again, the idea is it's narrow, and it is based off of what Bridgeville has in its chart. So, not quite verbatim, but it's pretty close.
As long as it's separate, and that $4 million is not open to council to use for whatever they want to. And it's dedicated specifically to infrastructure, and it's also dedicated to a 0% loan, that would make more sense, because that's something that we're probably going to need.
It's gonna set up some really stable guidelines, because we are gonna need this.
I just wanna make sure that that's not literally able to be borrowed for anything.
No.
It's specifically for infrastructure itself and towards specific loans.
Correct.
Don, do you have any thoughts?
No.
Nothing? Ms. Jones?
Would that be, we can keep the 100,000 for, say, we need water repair or God knows what? Say a water main bust and we got to tear the street up and everything. And then we could have another 400, 4 million for infrastructure.
Yeah, so, if you're.
I'm just trying to clarify
It's two,
that.
so it is two separate things.
That's why I'm
Would
asking.
we want to increase the first one, because we're only at $100,000, to 150 or 200,000? If we're already gonna submit a charter change for specifically to the $4 million for the infrastructure, would you want to increase?
So you wanna be able to set up two separate entities.
Correct.
One at 4 million as a maximum
Only on
for
infrastructure.
infrastructure
And
only.
based off those loans. And then we
Correct.
raise our current one that we're only allowed to borrow $100,000.
250.
To
Is that what?
250.
Okay.
To 250. So we're allowed to borrow up to 250 remove the original one we have now from 100 to 250. And then in addition, we had a different charter.
Charter change for infrastructure.
For infrastructure only at 0% interest up to $4 million. That would be my motion. That way, if we need
Well,
that.
I think, you gotta be careful when you say that, I make that my motion.
Okay. go ahead.
One thing is, I think on the charter, we do need to have the opportunity of the public chime in on that, for
Okay.
one. And two, you kinda got two competing resolutions out here right now. I haven't seen what Ms. Ballard prepared, I'm sure it's well written. But you do have to have an idea like what you want as far as the number, because we've had several different numbers on the yearly loan thing floated around there.
Yeah.
So you need to have a determination as to which one of those you want. Maybe that's where you hear from the public too, to see if they have any thoughts on that.
So, would you be opposed to, after we get our new council member,
There will be another special meeting.
we will have a special meeting specifically to address this issue,
Correct.
allow public comment up to, keep it at 3 minutes, but up to more people. That way, everybody gets a chance. to
We're gonna
say
miss our
something.
application deadline.
know.
I'm not saying don't do it, that's not what I'm saying, but I'm just saying you're gonna miss your application deadline until next year.
So when's the deadline for the application?
We already have it ready to be submitted right now, it should have been submitted March the 30th.
Well, I wasn't council aware of this,
Council was aware of it, we talked about it at the last
We
meeting.
talked about it last meeting.
but we didn't vote upon it.
No, you tabled it.
We're kind of back against.
We're gonna
the
miss it
wall
anyway,
here.
so it doesn't matter. That's what it sounds like, so, I mean,
Well,
You wanna vote
the
on
first
something?
part of this is you have to have the charter amended.
which is
Which
what
has
the
to go
application
through.
deadline is.
Well, but there's another part of that, is it still has to go to General Assembly. It still has to be approved there and go through that process.
It still has to go through their house attorney and everything, he has
Correct.
to make sure everything's good, and then they have to go ahead and approve it.
So even though you guys may approve recommendation, ultimately that power flows from the General Assembly.
But we have to get the recommendation in before the deadline.
I don't know what the
Do-
grant application is, Ms. Todd knew that better.
Like I said, it's passed, but we were waiting to see if we could get this to Representative Vanderwin, but if you don't wanna do it, that's up to you guys.
I think we need to make it tonight.
You know what?
We need to make a motion tonight to do it. I can't wait. I mean, that's up to you guys.
So that, do you wanna make a motion for that, or we?
Yep, that's my motion.
Make a motion to proceed with the charter change.
Yep.
Well, we still need to hear from the public on that, so I think it's like that, we need public to chime in on that.
Okay.
If anybody wishes to, they can go to the podium and speak about that. Hearing none?
Nobody? Nobody wants to say?
Was this on your agenda to vote to change the charter?
Yes.
Or-
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Line 20 is, right at the very bottom, discussion vote on charter change pertaining to section 29-20 and 32. And that those two pertain to the borrowing of loans.
Where's your agenda posted?
Online.
It's at
Post
the
office.
post office, library, online, on Facebook, on the website.
Just ask, what is the issue with the water tower?
So the issue that we're running into is the amount of storage of water, is if we increase any more property, if we have any more housing, if we have any more developments, the size of it is not enough to have enough for fire suppression and the residences itself. So we need a bigger water tower if we decide to grow and build around this town like we want to do, we need more water available in case of emergency situations. This has been brought to our light a year, when did it come to our light?
It's it's been a few months.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's been, I don't know exactly,
Years,
but it's,
to
yeah.
where they did an inspection and said the water tower is not big enough. If there was something major to happen, we're gonna need a bigger water tower. So-
We're running at half capacity right now. If something were to happen, like God forbid, one of the factories around here goes up,
We won't have
it's
enough
gonna
water in
suck
that
that
tank.
tower dry.
Yeah, we don't have enough water in that tank to do this, do fire spread.
And when they made the inspection, they suggested that we put a water tower on the east side of town. When we already got one over here.
Is that, then, Wawa, it feels that it's enough for them coming here? I mean,
Yeah,
that's a lot.
yeah, we have more than enough potable water. It would just be like if half the town was on fire. Yeah, it's not like a house fire.
There's a bar caught on fire a couple of years back, and that spread, then that's when we would be.
It's a worst case scenario.
But we wanna make sure that we're prepared for it, because
Correct.
the last thing you need is the water tower to run out of water when there's a major problem, so.
You're not replacing, you're just adding.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, add a whole separate one to just give us more volume for water, so, yes, correct.
And water towers are the only option if you don't have wells, and I guess wells feed into it, or?
We have pumps, that feed into the well, but it's more of the actual storage itself of it. The pumps are well enough to keep going up, but you need the actual storage of the water itself to be able to handle it. Yeah. Yes.
Do you guys got, a separate water, like, your budget for your water department, and what's the balance in the water department?
A separate budget?
For, like,
Well, let's say this, the comments are only to the charter change
Okay.
right now,
Yeah.
so I think we need to keep it.
Yeah, we'll
down.
keep it.
We're kind of getting found out. I
Thank you.
appreciate the question.
Not making a motion.
And maybe
You
a
make
question from
motion?
Ms. Fox.
Ms. Jones makes a motion to
What was
amend
the
charter
motion?
change.
Excuse me, because we kicked some numbers around, Ms. Jones, what are the numbers that you're looking at for the?
250 for the regular and 400 for the second. For the
4 million.
infrastructure. Yeah,
4 million.
4 million.
Okay. We do have a resolution for that effect that, that has the language that was, I believe, in your packet, circulated, so. So your motion is to accept that resolution.
Was there a second or no?
Second.
Mr. Massey seconds that. Ms. Jones, yes. Mr. Donovan?
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Massey?
Yes.
I vote yes as well.
Okay.
With that, Mr. Sharp, you are no longer needed now.
Thank you.
Skipped it through
Thank you
there.
for coming,
I do
clarification.
appreciate you, yeah. This
Always
is-
appreciate it.
Always happy to be here. I wish you all have a great night.
Thank you, thank you.
Mr. Allen's a little confused. Can you address it for me, please?
So is this resolution that Mr. Sharp just handed me, is this what you guys just voted for?
That's the one that says 250 and 400,000.
So 4 million for the resolution
Yes.
for the charter change.
I know it's here somewhere.
Is that-
You all have this?
Yes.
Okay, good. I don't think I've seen this.
And I'll follow up with staff.
Okay.
I'm just a new spritzer, and then water bottle.
I got it. Sounds it up, sounds it up. Alright, we're going to the mayor's updates.
I'm sorry.
I guess I will go through all of them.
Just quotes.
Thank you.
Mayor's updates. First one is the meeting with the mayor and the town auditor. So I did speak with the town auditors when I became part of council and mayor to figure out what's going on with this whole process, because it's been 5 years since we've got any response and having it done. I did receive a letter. This is from the person in charge of Ashley Stern. She's in charge of the audit itself. She states, we have been engaged to audit the governmental activities, the business type activities in each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of the town of Greenwood. Delaware for the year end of December 31st, 2020, for the year ended. The related notice of the financial statement collected compromise of town of Greenwood. Delaware's basic financial statements is listed in the table of contents. The audit is on the final stages and we hope to present at the May meeting. Audit testing finally began on October 2024, and there were delays due to back and forth communications with incomplete records. This caused an overall delay of the completion of the audit. From my transparency of talking with them, they've been working with this for 5 years now.
No, sir, 1 year, but it's 4 or 5 years.
They've started in the beginning of December 30th of 2020.
No, that's
No.
never started. They
No,
started.
somebody else did it.
Somebody else
They've
did
been
it.
working 463 hours. Either way, they've had 39 journal entries, and it's been delayed and delayed and delayed. Due to this, I just want to let council aware of this. They're up to 463 hours. The bill for this audit is looking between $40,000 and $45,000. Just so everybody's aware of what we're actually looking at.
And we actually have a signed proposal signed by, actually, Mr. Donovan at the time, for the price that they were gonna do, and we have one change order, and it's nowhere near that. And Ashley told me today that it is not done, but it is in quality control at this time, and she will not present it to just one member of the council, she will present it as a group.
Correct. And I asked her when she's completely done, she will be here at the meeting
Yep.
and explain everything to all of us.
So she's shooting for May at this point?
She's shooting for May at this
Okay.
point. Also with the stages, they have agreed to do the 21, 22, 23, 24 audits. They will not sign one off on any of those following years until they have established that there hasn't been anything messed up with
Absolutely.
the previous audit before, but we will still continue to keep them, and they have agreed to do all of that as well. One suggestion I did hear from her, and I'm sure she'll say that, and she'll go into more detail about this. I think one thing we may need to look at is either a monthly or a weekly controller to come in and reconcile the books. That way we don't have to keep going back and forth, because the book should be reconciled at the end of every month. That way we don't have to keep going back and forth and figure out what's going on, which from what my understanding, this is the biggest part of the delay. So that's something I think council needs to think about, is have somebody come in once a month to go through the books to make sure they are reconciled. That way, if anything has happened again, it can just be quick and done.
Well, I have something to say about that.
Yeah.
First of all, 2020, it took us a while to find 2020, 21 bank statements because that was under a different town
Yeah, it was
manager.
two- and that was
But,
the
and
big
it did,
thing,
we
the
struggled to
transition.
find things and we did find all that.
Yeah, yeah.
But we reconcile every single month.
Yeah.
It's at the end of this month. So what you're telling me is the reconciling that I'm doing is not correct? Is that what you're
I don't
telling
know
me?
up to the date from what I read when she was trying to find, from when I was speaking with the
Ashley,
auditor,
mhm.
with Ashley, yes. They would ask for information, they wouldn't get it in time, and then when they got it, then they needed the books reconciled up to that date, because as you do an audit, once you restart the process, say somebody turns in a check from 2020 and they cash it out in 2024, they need to make sure those books that have come clear didn't clear anything out from 2020. And that process of back and forth is what took them so long to be able to get the audit finished. Thankfully, it is in the final stage now, and then we can just complete this, and the books are up to date now, which
Yeah.
is great, because that means 21, 22, 23, 24, there shouldn't be an issue whatsoever. The thing that I'm looking at is, though, from here on out, I wanna make sure that the books are completely reconciled per month, that way we don't have to go through the process of what we just previously went through of trying to reconcile the books up to date from when we give them the information, and then we need the books it should have just been, here's the information, here's the reconciled books, here you go, instead of here's the information, all right, let me get you the reconciled books, and then let me get this information out, and let me get you the reconciled books, which prolong the process, to now, look, it's up to $45,000 for one audit, which is why I would think the best thing to do is for us as council to look at a monthly or weekly controller, because you do a lot of work. And I'm sure it's a lot of work to keep the books on intact as well on top of your daily activities. And to have somebody just come in to make sure all of that is straight and correct, I think that's the best way to go about it.
So you didn't budget for one, but you wanna hire a controller.
I didn't
I'm just
budget.
clarifying, you wanna hire a
I would
controller?
like council to look at it as a suggestion to stop this from happening. I don't wanna hire anything, I think that's something, that's an option that I think that we could possibly look at to alleviate some of your pressure that you have to worry about with the books on top of your daily activities.
Well, I don't enter any deposits or payments. Carolyn does all of that, so I'm just saying, we do it together. But my whole point is, when Ashley comes, she's gonna try to come to the May meeting, she said. But when she comes, we'll discuss all this, and I think you guys will be clarified on a lot of things of how we got to where we are.
Yep.
That was gonna be, how about we just let her come here and she can explain.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yep.
And that's what I said she was gonna do, that's what I did, exactly what
Yep.
she said, she'll come here in May and explain everything more precisely than what I have, but I did receive this letter, and I wanted to make it known so council was aware of where we're at and where we're standing with the 2020 audit.
Would you mind letting Ms. Todd make a
I
copy
have,
of that?
actually, no,
I have one.
I have copies.
I have one.
From the letter?
Yeah, I have a copy of the letter.
Complete public record,
Mhm.
just transparency.
I got a copy.
I ever got one.
You already got one?
Yep, I
I'll
got
take
one.
one.
Carolyn.
We've got this, it's a transparency, nobody can say anything was not included,
And that's what I have.
so.
So that was all for that. Now we're going back to the other two. So I don't have any updates, for the meeting, with me and the town of Bridgeville. I don't know what you would like me to say upon that. I will.
Just what you just said is fine. You don't have any update?
I have no updates.
You don't have any
I
updates?
will express the reason I met with the, like I said, when I was elected and became elected, or was running, is that, I want to start from the new beginning, and I found out there was quarrels between Bridgeville and ourselves, and I went down there and, just got some information, because all you hear, because again, as I said from the beginning, is I don't base anything off of hearsay. You can hear something from somebody else, something from other things. I want to go to the facts, which is why I went to Bridgeville. There really is no update. There was nothing to say about that. So I don't know why that's on there, but I have no update for that.
I put that on there because you told me you had went to meet with Bridgeville, that's why I put down there.
Well, that's the reason
Because Bethany and I have no issue, but I didn't know if you're aware, because I don't know how far you go back, that we lost our sewer because of Bridgeville. So, but there's no hard feelings between us and Bridgeville, we work together, so that's why I put that on, because I have no idea what the point of that was.
Okay.
So that's why I put it on there.
I wanted it left on so you could be on record saying, hey, I don't have any more information than what I had to begin with, it is what it is, move on.
There's nothing more for me to update about the meeting that I had with the town of Bridgeville.
Okay.
As for the meeting with me and the residents pertaining to the proposed project in Greenwood Garden Apartments, I don't know what update I would have for that. We've already established what we were speaking about, last council meeting. It wasn't a meeting between me and the residents. As Mr. Weller stated, I'm just here sitting talking to constituents. We went over all of this last council meeting.
Okay,
So
you have no update further than what we had last time?
I don't know what there would be to update. I don't know.
That's all you have to say. I don't have anything more than I had last, and it's on record, it's done, it's moved.
Okay, so I have no updates with that. So we're done with the mayor's updates. Police report. How you doing, sir?
Mr. Mayor and Council, you guys have my written report. If you have any questions about it, I'm more than willing to answer any questions. I'm going to keep it super short and sweet because I'm sure these people have endured a lot tonight. We're running on almost 2 hours now, and it's getting super hot in here. So, in reference to my actual verbal report, I'm just going to touch on one thing. Our first block of training for PAC members was started on Wednesday, April 2nd. Which went over very greatly. I truly appreciate all the hard work and effort put in by Corporal Tucker to run this training. We also housed and assisted Ellendale, the PAC members from Ellendale, to come over, and we gave them the same training that we gave our PAC members. I will say that we have a vacant committee position which needs to be filled due to a member resigning. So I will be looking for a volunteer from the community to help fill one vacant committee position. So if anyone's interested or knows someone that's interested to fill this position to become a PAC committee member, please reach out to myself or Corporal Tucker here at the Greenwood Police Department. So,
Particular requirements.
We'll have to review that. Right now, anyone can volunteer, and then we'll have to ensure that we're meeting all the criteria for the PAC standards. That's all I have to report verbally.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, updates. On the town manager, if we get the financial review.
In your package, you have the balance sheet, which you requested at the last meeting. The other report you requested, a general operating report. There's no such report in QuickBooks. So I'm assuming you know how to use QuickBooks because you knew the name of some reports. So if you can tell me the other report, I will gladly give it to council next month. Do you know maybe what it really is called?
I will look into that, the exact, everything, if it's exact, I will look into that and let you know.
Okay. The bank balances as of this afternoon are $1,009,140.05. The water tower, we already talked about that. I just want to address one thing that was said by, I believe, Mr. Mitchell, and if not, I'm sorry. As for information not being readily available, FOIA, and Mr. Massey and Kelly can tell us, FOIA, you can get any record in this building, anything that's FOIAble. But if, for instance, if there's a project that has not been submitted and only concepts, we do not distribute that because that leads to misinformation. It could potentially ruin a sale off of misinformation. So once it's submitted officially, the packets are posted online with the agendas, the drawings, and everything. So that is why we do not distribute information before it is officially submitted to the town. So that is why we just, once it's submitted, we do it, but we don't just submit concept plans to the public.
Okay.
That's it. That's all I got.
That's all for you?
Mm-hmm.
Update on town events, Kevin, you were.
I got a question on financial.
Yep.
Yeah, we removed down the last sewer, there's $3,948,000 that is an asset and actually it isn't because the county's got that.
The auditors are working on, they're gonna do journal entry stuff to get rid of that. That's in their realm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You ready?
Okay, yes, go ahead.
Okay. Some updates on community events. We are heavy into planning all of our events for 2025. Up first is our Greenwood Market, which will be in the lot directly across here from Town Hall over there at Greenwood United Methodist Church. We have already started accepting vendors. Our main market is at capacity. We have 2 food trucks, we have some baked goods, we have craft things, we have flowers, we have vegetables, we have a little petting zoo. There is also going to be a little contest that goes along with each one of our markets. It will be the 3rd Saturday of May, June, July, and August from 8 to 2, again over at the United Methodist Church. There will be an online contest to get people out, get a little bit competitive. Our first prize is a gift card to Amity, and we have also received some prizes from other local businesses way back, Stargate, and is Emma's? Did you get one for Emma's? Okay. So each month we will have a different prize, so please make sure that you're following the Greenwood Facebook for information on that one. We do still have a few, and I do want to stress, I think June we have 1 spot. So spots are limited. We only have so much space. It's a great problem to have, but we are limited. So if anybody is interested, has all of their, please make sure that you're correct with the county and the state food regulations, stuff like that. Just kind of common sense things there, but those are available either here through Town Hall or greenwoodtownevents@gmail.com. Once we get this first market up and running, we are starting to get into Greenwood Day, which will be
September 20th.
Thank you. I was going to screw the date up. With the rain date of the Sunday, the next day, the 21st. We are working on a full day of events going with yard sales, vendors. We have 3, possibly 4 different musical acts performing on Greenwood Day. and really excited about that. So if anybody's interested in being a vendor, if you're just living here in town, mark it on your calendar, because there will be some streets blocked off, which will cause a little bit of, reworking around traffic, but nonetheless, and I think that's it. If anybody has a want to help out, whether you're a day of event helper, you're a planner, you're a creative person who likes to make flyers or whatever, we could use people with all kinds of different talents. All you gotta do is reach out to Greenwood Town Events and we'll get you guys integrated.
No, fantastic. And we really appreciate all that you guys are doing, for sure.
Oh, I'm sorry, last piece.
Yes.
As always, the entire council is invited to every event, encouraged to come to every single event. I do know that we have a little bit of a quorum thing, so if you guys just kind of want to discuss it, hey, I'm going to be at the May one, I'm going to be at the June one, or I'm only going to be here in the beginning, I'll be here later in the afternoon. We would love to have you guys.
Fantastic. Thank you. So we will now move on to old business. Discussion and vote on water rates for out-of-town properties.
Well,
We put that on
yeah, it was from last time, in lieu of this evening's events and us now being short of a person, this is not exactly a pressing matter. It is something I'd like to address, but I would like us to have a full council of representatives before we move forward with this. I would like to make a motion to table it until we have a full council, because I don't feel it's right without a full representation of all council.
Second.
Ms. Jones, vote.
Second.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan?
Yes.
Yes as well. Finally, new business. Discussion of possible adoption of Robert's Rules of Procedure. I thought this was already done, so I'm going to make the motion to adopt Robert's Rules of Procedures. Ms. Jones seconds it. Mr. Massey, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Donovan, how do you vote?
No.
No. Now we move council members' comments. James, do you have anything?
No,
No?
other than, National Night Out. That's always what,
I believe it's the 14th,
12th.
12th.
August 12th.
Sorry.
No, I think that's all we got right now. So, and we're gonna have barbecue July 27th. The police are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should be a competition against council, please.
Council?
Come on, we can barbecue all.
No, but you can work it.
I can work.
Explain that.
That is-
That's what Bridgeville.
Yeah, I don't
Okay,
know.
I didn't know.
Yeah. Sorry, Carolyn, thank you for being straight. What it is, we're gonna try to get a K-9 unit. We'll be run, would you like to explain that part a little bit, and then I'll.
Sure. I mean, I was waiting to do a whole presentation on our K-9 unit that we're developing,
I'm
but
sorry
just
about
to make this quick, we're developing a K-9 unit which we want to institute as a special unit, and we're actually doing a fundraiser to raise money for the assistance in the K-9. So, if you want to touch from there, we're good.
July 27th, we're gonna have barbecue at the Kiwanis, so they let us have it. And, they want us to try to sell some tickets before, so if you need a ticket, either come to town hall or see me.
The more pre-sale tickets we sell, the better.
Yeah,
And
the
it
more
would,
money
it would
we'll
greatly
get.
help our, our mission of
The more money
obtaining a
we'll get.
K-9.
What are the tickets going for, Ms. Lee?
$12.
Okay.
25 for you.
Thanks.
But there's what's in the car. It's K-9.
Okay.
And the only reason I went ahead and chief ballot was so we sell them.
I'll buy
Sold.
Mr. Massey, you have any comment?
I don't know what Ms. got going on, but I really hope that she's okay. it's not my business. But I wish her the best of luck. I hope she stays healthy. I hope she sticks around for a long time. Also, another one of those letters made the rounds. I am the kind of person where, and you all know me, I have no problem making an ass of myself to get a point across, but I will tell you to your face how it is. I truly wish that whoever is putting these letters out, if you got a problem with anybody at this table, anybody in this town, just have the courtesy to go say something to them to their face. I feel like it would be more productive than burning a couple grand on stamps and envelopes and everything else. And at a certain point, we all live in this town together. We have problems, we butt heads. It is what it is, but I still gotta see you every day. And I still gotta get along with you every day. And I am here to represent you as long as you're willing to let me. I think at this point, maybe whoever the letter writer is, just, man, give it a rest. Like, you're tearing the town apart. Like, I don't have to like you, but I don't have to be an asshole to you either. It's kind of where I'm at with it. It's just, get along, that's it. So, but again, I wish Miss Town the best. So, Mr. Town.
I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn.
We gotta wait.
Oh,
All council that voted yes needs to sign these Robert rules.
okay,
It's in your back.
okay.
May the 11th, the Unity Ride. Law enforcement is coming through on May the 11th.
Special
That's
Olympics.
Sunday.
They do it for Special Olympics.
Every year they've been doing it. They always stop at the barbecue for chicken.
Okay.
Do you know what time, Mr. Gannon?
They usually there around 10 o'clock in the morning, give or take.
Okay.
We have a motion to adjourn, we have a second.
Got it, sir.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Meeting adjourned.
I didn't want to go on public comment.